Hello, I'm Guillaume, one of the two co-founders of Altamaker, and today I will present you the main functions of our software, Ecodesign Studio. So, Ecodesign Studio is a web-based platform, and after you log in, you will see this kind of interface where you will have access to all of your projects, the possibility to create new project from scratch by copying an existing project or comparing here different projects. If I open an already existing project, here I can manage a team who has an access to this project. So in this case, for instance, Antoine can have an access. I can delete his access, remove his access. In this way, you can keep the confidentiality between your different teams. You can add different kind of informations. You can also describe some parameters such as family and subfamily, so the business unit, the product lines, or those kind of things. You can also describe the different indicators you want to follow. We have a list of indicators that are available. All these indicators came from EF 3.0 impact assessment methods, so the European factors are applied. You can have, for instance, climate change, single scores, and also other kind of indicators. You can also define if you want to use only private data or also public data. Public data means data coming from public database, Base Impact or EcoInvent, the two main databases we have in the softwares. And private data means the data you can add to the softwares only for you, or the data that are public but renamed. With these functions, it allows you to create a mix of data you want that the user use in the different models, but with pre-filters of this data. So in that way, you are sure that all the users use the same data with the same hypothesis behind. We have two different steps in the software, the modeling steps and the improvement steps. In the first one, you can describe the bill of material, describe the life cycle, and have the calculate the impact. And then you can go on the improvement phase to make some simulations, some comparison between material, process, and other things, and create variation. What if I change this material? What if I change these suppliers? And at the end, compare in order to find the best solution. So if we focus on the different modules, the first one is the bill of material. A product is made up of subset. A subset is made of component. A component has a name, a quantity, could also have a price. And then you can link to the component material and processes. So you can easily add a new material. I want to add a thermoplastics. It could be nylon 6, for instance. And I want 10 grams. And that's it. I include 10 grams of nylons in my component. And it's the same for the process. A process could be a predefined process. For instance, in plastic, you can have injection, you can have extrusion, other things. But it could also be directly electricity consumption. You have the electricity mix from all the countries worldwide. So you can say, okay, in order to produce this component in Great Britain, I need 0.1 kilowatt hours, for instance. And then it automatically adds this amount of electricity in your product. When you create a component, you can start from scratch. You can start by copying an existing component from this project or from another project. And you can also make a link between different models. Here I can add as a component this project, for instance, this one as an amount. I want to have one project as a component of this one. So here you see I have a direct link between this initial project and the other one. This allows you to create a library of components or predefined systems that are reused in different projects. And in that way, you can save time when you model. You can also share the works. One team can model different bill of material, different component, and then reuse all the component in a specific project. As soon as you have the bill of material, you can then go to the lifecycle descriptions. In the lifecycle description, you can describe the supply. What are the different transports to from the producer of this component to the final factory. You can then describe the distribution. What are the different transport from my plant to the user? So here I have one transport from the plant to the storage facility and one transport in France for 50% of my product and one transport in Germany for the other half of my product. Then you can describe the use phase of your product. Could be material, water, soap, and so on. It could be processes, electricity consumptions, for instance. It could be transport. It could also be part of your model. I know that I need to change the jar 2 times in my lifetime. So I can just say, okay, I record 2 jars in my lifetime as maintenance. And same, you can make it direct link with all existing project. You have this list of projects you already model. So here in the use phase, you can really add what you want. Then you can go to the end of life. Depending on the database, you have the possibility to have an automatic end of life, average household waste in France, or per component, you can describe specific end of life treatment. All of these informations coming from the bill of material until the end of life can be extracted in Excel, change and re-upload in the same Excel file. So you can really work also in Excel if you prefer and just upload the pre-filled files. When you have modeled the different lifecycle steps, of course, some of them could be empty if it's out of your scope. You can then go to the result phase. In the result phase, you will see all the indicators you predefine in the parameters list. And then you can see, for instance, on climate change, my impact is 1.5 kilograms of CO2 equivalent. And more than the half of the impact came from the raw material steps. If I click on it, the main component are the jar and the underlift and support. Together, they are responsible about almost 35% of the total impact of the product. I can move from one indicator to another. I can move from one life cycle steps to another. And I can change the focus. Here it's per component, could be per subset or per type of material. That's one of the kind of the information you can have. You can have also some other informations, the material allocation, so the different mass you already enter in your product, just to check if everything is okay. You can also compare the impact here on climate change of each component, material, process, transport, and end of life. That's the impact of my component. You can see if there is any link between the impact, the cost that could be entered in the bill of material, and the mass of the material. So here it allows you to really see if there is any link between impact and mass, impact and cost, and other kind of things. Every impact could be exported in Excel file, and then you can test what if scenarios. That's in the improvement phase. So you can go, for instance, in the simulations. Here you can just compare different material, process, transport, or even end of life. I have, let's say, a thermoplastics, which is a nylon 6, and I want to compare it with nylon 6.6, but I know that I will be able to use less nylon 6.6, depending on its properties or whatever. So here you can compare really easily 1 kilograms of nylon 6 to 0.8 kilograms of nylon 6.6, and maybe with one other material. So that's really a way to compare material, process, transport, and end of life. Then you can go to the variation. You can create a new variant with a name. It's a copy. It could be empty. It could be a copy of my initial product or a copy of previous variation. So I make a copy of my initial product. I can change the mass. For instance, it's 50 grams. I can change the material. It's not in glass anymore, but it's in thermoplastics. Let's say in polycarbonate. You can change the process. It's not in steam, but it's plastic injected. So it could be, for instance, plastic injections for 0.08 kilograms. You can change the supply. You can change all the life cycle steps you want. You can have an access to the results part with the same functions, click, understand where does the impact come from, understand, track the hotspot, and other things. But then you can go to the comparison. In the comparison, you can say, okay, I want to compare one initial product with, for instance, one new product. And you can compare, as you see here, up to 6 products, one initial to 5 other products. And that allows you to really try to find the best environmental solutions. And you can export again everything in Excel. Well, that was the main functions where you can describe product and model the bill of material, model the life cycles, and have the impact. We have other functions where you can link the life cycle assessment to the functional analysis and other kind of things. You can also have a look on the database. Here you can see the different data that are available in Base Impact, in EcoInventor, or in other databases. You can, of course, have some search functions. If you open one, you can see that you have the comment, you have the description, you have an access to the impact, and you can add really easily new data you have from suppliers, coming from the literature or whatever, and you can copy existing data with a dynamic link to keep the link with the previous versions, but just to rename data in order to fit to your names. And that allows you really to make the model easier for non-experts, but also if you remind when you, in the beginning, when you have in the parameter the possibility to have the project only private data, here it's by just renamed, it will go to your private library, and in that way you will have only this material if you select private data. So it's also a way to restrict the number of datasets that are available and ensure the quality for non-experts. So that was a description of the main functions of Ecodesign Studio. Of course, it's a software that has a lot of other functions, a lot of improvement month after month. So feel free to contact us and ask for a demo version, or at least have a chat and we can exchange on how this software could answer to your needs.